This is Algebra 1, Unit 6, Lesson 7 continued. I thought we'd spend another day on absolute value inequalities. So if you recall, when we have an absolute value inequality, you're going to do it twice, once as is, and then you're going to flip the sign and you're going to do it with a negative answer. When you start with a less than symbol, it's going to end up as an and statement. They're going to overlap on your number line, and we want the overlapping part. You remember we started with an equal to sign, and when we do it twice, we're going to end up with two dots, just two single answers. And finally, when you started with a greater than symbol, or a greater than or equal to, again, you do it twice, once as is, and then once with a negative, and that's when you flip the sign. And you're going to see on your number line, it ends up broken. That's going to turn out to be an or situation. So if you start with a greater than symbol, it's going to end up being an or. If you start with a less than symbol, it turns out to be an and. If it's an equal to, it's just two individual answers. Let's practice. So you're going to do it twice, once with the way it is now. So we're going to say 4v minus 9 is less than or equal to 27. Add 9 to both sides. Divide by 4. So our first solution is going to be v has to be less than or equal to 9. So we find 9 on the board, on the number line, put a solid, and shade to the left. We're going less than. Now we're going to do it again. It's less than, so this is going to turn out to be an and situation. So we're going to do it again. We're going to say 4b minus 9 is less, now we're going to flip the sign. It's now greater than or equal to negative 27. We're still going to add 9 to both sides. It's going to give us 18, let's see, 18 it looks like. And then we're going to divide by 4. Let's make that a negative 18. Divided by 4. And it looks like that's going to give us b has to be greater than or equal to negative 4.5. So we find negative 4.5. That'd be right about here. Put a solid dot. And we're going to shade to the right. It has to be greater than. So we want the overlapping part. So remember, we can make this into one statement. We put the v in the middle. We put always less than or equal to symbols. We put the lesser amount on the left, negative 4.5. We put the greater than, the larger amount on the right, and we turn it into one statement. Or if you want to leave it as is, you can just say, and it has to be both those things. Okay, let's try one more. Remember, you have to simplify before you start doing it twice. And in other words, I want the absolute value by itself. So let's get rid of that divide by 5 by multiplying both sides by 5. So I get the absolute value of x minus 4 has to be less than or equal to 10. Now we're ready to do it twice. X minus 4 is less than or equal to 10. Add 4 to both sides. X has to be less than or equal to 14. Now we do it one more time. So we say x minus 4 is greater than or equal to negative 10. We're going to add 4 to both sides. We get negative 6. So let's see what that looks like on the number line. We go to negative 6. Again, it's a closed circle. And it has to be greater than, so we're going to shade to the right. And this one, we find 14, closed circle, shade to the left. So again, it's an and situation. It's going to be those two. If you want to write it as one, you put the x in the middle. You use less than or equal to signs. You use the lower number on the left, the higher number on the right, and that would be our solution. So you'll see it written both ways, as an and or in one statement. That's when you start with a less than or equal to. Let's see what it's going to look like. This is when it's going to be broken, when it's a greater than symbol. So again, the first thing you want to do is simplify it so the absolute value is by itself. So you get the absolute value of b minus 8 is greater than 12. And then we're going to solve it twice. B minus 8 is greater than 12. And then we're going to do it again. B minus 8 is less than negative 12. We're going to add 8 to both sides. So we're going to get B has to be greater than 20. And then we're going to add 8 to both sides. So it's going to has to be B is less than negative 4. So we're going to go ahead and graph that on the number line. So it has to be greater than 20, so open circle on 20, and greater than, shade to the right, has to be less than negative 4, so open circle on negative 4, shade to the left, less than. Again, it's a broken situation, so when it's start with a greater than symbol, you're going to make it an or, so we're just going to write it like that. All right, let's try one more. Again, we want to simplify it until we get the absolute value sign. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So I get the absolute value of n minus 2 has to be greater than 8. Now we're going to do it twice. N minus 2 is greater than 8. And then we're going to do it again. N minus 2 is less than negative 8. Because we know absolute value means distance from 0. So there are going to be 2 answers there. So then we're going to add 2 to both sides. So n has to be greater than 10. And we're going to add 2, so n has to be less than negative 6. So again, it's started with a greater than, so it's going to be a broken situation. It's going to be an or statement. So it has to be greater than 10, that'd be right here, open circle, shade to the right, and less than negative 6, that's going to be right here, shade to the left. So we're going to leave it as is as an or statement. Okay. You know, there's always a couple special cases. When do you see special cases? Right here. If you you simplify your absolute value and it says it's going to be less than B and B is less than 0. B is a negative number. Your answer is always going to be, there's no way you can get an absolute value that's going to be less than 0. So there's no answer you could put in there, so we're going to see no solution for that. So let me show you what that is. So first you want to simplify to get the absolute value by itself. So I'm going to subtract that 1. So I get 2 times the absolute value of 8x plus 4 is less than or equal to negative 78. Now we're going to divide it by 2 to get rid of that. So we get the absolute value of 8x plus 4. When is it going to be less than or equal to negative 39, right? 9, 9, 18. Okay. When is it going to be less than negative 39? Never. No, it can't be. So in this case, there's no number we can put in for x that's going to work. So this is when we say no solution. So again, you know it whenever they ask you if it's going to be less than a negative number. Okay, and here's the second situation. Okay, so you simplify it until you have only the absolute value, which in this case we do. And when is it going to be greater than a negative number? Always. Okay, absolute value has to be a positive number. So this is when you say all real numbers. Okay, please try the practice exercises and let me know if you'd like some help. Thank you.